recording and introduce our fantastic webinar presenters today. So we're I'm very lucky to have known both of these lovely ladies for a while now. We've done a fair bit of content together over the years in different forms, whether it be some blogs or webinars, and really love the value that they're able to add to the bookkeeping industry. And I know that we've got a number of our clients and customers on this webinar today as well. And we really thought when talking about this content that it was going to add value to pretty much every bookkeeper who's currently working in practice. So whether you've got your own business or you're working as part of a firm, hopefully this is really going to add some value to you. So the two presenters that we have today, Katrina Aarsman, who is the CEO of Pure Bookkeeping. And I know from firsthand feedback from a lot of our customers who work with the Pure Bookkeeping crew that she has some fantastic insights and experience from coaching lots of different bookkeeping professionals from all over the world now, right, Katrina? You've got members all over the place from what I can see. Yeah, we do actually, yeah. Awesome. So thanks again for joining us. And also Sharon Francisco, who's a coach and mentor working with bookkeepers to scale their business, and worked with Sharon a number of times before in a few different capacities. And Sharon has actually started her one-to-one coaching business, mentoring business now, working with bookkeepers all over the place as well. So Sharon, thanks again for taking the time to join us today.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, Ethan. That's awesome.
Great to have you. Well, without further ado, as I said, we've got some time for questions throughout this session. So we're hoping to keep it quite conversational and interactive. Drop any questions that you've got in the Q&A or the chat, and we will moderate those and ask those as we go. But over to you guys to take us through the content that we have today on establishing a working relationship with new clients.
Thanks, Ethan, and thanks again for inviting us to present to your audience. I really appreciate the opportunity. And we've had a lot of fun, Sharon and I, in getting this stuff together and getting a few giveaways for you as well that we'll talk throughout the event. So Sharon and I have been working together for a little while now and creating some workshops and webinars, and especially now that Sharon's working with a lot of bookkeepers, she's actually mentoring a lot of our licensees as well. So it's awesome working with Sharon. So let's get into the slide deck today.
Yeah, so today what we're going to do is we're going to teach you how to train your clients right from the beginning, because so much heartache comes from when we don't do this properly. Personal heartache that I've had, so first-hand experience. So we want to make sure that when we're in business that we're doing it harmoniously and we feel really good about the IP we have in our heads, and when we're working with our clients that they absolutely love us for everything that we do. So that's what we want to set up today.
Exactly, and we want to make sure that we are aligning our clients that are A grade. So I just want to check in, does everybody know, or is there anybody on the call that doesn't know what an A grade client is? And for those that do know what an A grade client is, maybe in the chat you might like to just share some ideas of summarize what an A grade client is to you. And they're the type of clients that we want to ideally attract and work with, and building these healthy relationships right from the start will help you weed out those A-grade clients as well. So yeah, as Megan says, your perfect client, that's right. So the A-grade client is that client that you ideally want to work with, that has wants the right service, they want to pay you well, they value what you do, and ideally that they also promote you. So they become one of your raving fans, which is what we talk about throughout the slides as well. So how do we know we need a better system? So firstly, in speaking to lots of bookkeepers, Sharon and I has found one of the big issues is around over-servicing clients. So Sharon, do you want to share your insights?
Yeah, I nearly jumped in there because I love this. It's a hot topic for me. You know, this shows up when we haven't quoted properly, right? So it shows up when, you know, that feeling that you get, that sick feeling in the stomach of like you've quoted out the work and everything's perfect, but then all this extra stuff starts like popping in that we didn't think about before. So it's like, you know, they need more support, they might need more business advice, they might need more nurturing. And you kind of get stuck into this weird little paradox where you've got this lovely relationship and you've quoted them a certain amount, but there's stuff you've left off. And you kind of think, I don't want to have to, like, how do you go back and say that? It's like you're half pregnant, right? It's like, how do you do that? How do you come back and say, oh, sorry, but I forgot about that. That's not part of it. I forgot about this. That's not part of it. So what we do, we get stuck into this whole little vortex of doing too much work. So then we get resentful and we feel kind of a little bit cranky because we're doing all this extra work and we're not getting paid for it. But we don't want to let our clients down because we've just quoted them 6, 12, 18 months ago or whatever for this work, and we don't want to let them down. So we just continue working and doing all this extra work and we're not getting paid for it. And we know that kind of, if we ever, I know we've done a few exercises together, Katrina, where if we work out our real hourly rate, what that looks like, if we take into account all that scope creep, what that hourly rate really looks like, and it's pretty scary stuff. So that's what we tend to do. We overservice our clients when we don't sort of really highlight every area in the business that we will be working on.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully we'll give you some solutions throughout today in how to avoid that. So one of the next problems that, you know, we see quite often with bookkeepers and for myself as well, you get taken advantage of. So I remember when, you know, in my bookkeeping businesses, certainly, you know, expected to jump when they call, expected to work on weekends to get the work done that they need. You know, they'll call us and say, I need a bank loan, you know, application done within a day, or I need my accountant's figures. I mean, it's very, very tricky at the moment. Everybody wants their end of year review and they want it now. So they want to take advantage of you outside of hours and they demand your attention. But often, you know, we find that they don't reciprocate with that same goodwill. They want to take, but they don't want to give. So they don't want to pay on time. They don't want to value you. They don't want to appreciate you, and they don't want to refer. So it's quite a common problem that we see as bookkeepers.
Yeah,
so the next one is around feeling like an employee. So this is mentioned often in supporting our bookkeepers as well. So Sharon, what are your thoughts around, you know, when you hear bookkeepers feel like an employee?
It's one I hear a lot when I'm coaching my clients, and over the years as well. Obviously, when I scaled the bookkeeping business with my sister-in-law, if you're not clear up front around the relationship and how that works, I kind of feel sorry for the clients sometimes because they don't know. They don't know. So they kind of feel like, oh, I've got this great bookkeeper. I can connect with them whenever I want. And that's not really the case. You can't do that. You can't do that to a bookkeeper because they've got 20, 30, 60, 80, 120 clients. So you don't want to feel like an employee and you don't want to feel used. And that's the feeling you can get. If you don't do this right, the feeling you can get is feeling used, undervalued. They can drip feed information through to you, so it's not done in a timely manner. So you're kind of waiting on them and you're always chasing them. And then, you know, when they need something, you're expected to drop everything and answer their calls. So it's a horrible little paradox to get into, this feeling like an employee and feeling like you're on tap to them whenever they want, really. So, and it just causes a whole bunch of resentment, and you just don't. Then you don't put them into you know, we talked about A-class clients. That's like a D-class client then. But sometimes we kind of create that without having good conversations up the front, which we're going to talk about, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. So which one of those circumstances are you? And I know Ethan's got a poll there. So what we're looking at is whether you are over-servicing your clients, the clients are taking advantage of you, or you feel like an employee. And
this poll's multiple choice as well, and it's I think it's an anonymous one as well. So don't be afraid of us calling you out or seeing which one you respond to. So if you resonate with multiple pain points, then feel free to respond to all three if you so desire. So it'd be really good for us to see. And I'll also share out the results with everyone on the call, so you certainly won't feel alone if you do respond to one of these. I think we've got just over half who have responded, which is awesome. So let me just end that one, Katrina, and I'll share it with everyone. There you go.
Yeah. So over servicing, that's the scope creep. We just feel, I know, Ethan, this is one thing that you were, we were talking yesterday about your over servicing and providing more service from the get-go, from, in the engagement letters of, making it really clear of what to include, and, that we're doing compliance and BAS, but when we're forgetting the other services that we provide the clients as well.
Yeah, I think one of the key things, Katrina, and you guys have touched on it really well already, but how do you, when the relationship with the client changes over time, how do you manage that change? Because I think, quite often it can be easier to set expectations up front than it is to change the nature of a relationship or change expectations down the line. And so I'm really looking forward, later in this session, if we can touch on how do we actually go about re-engaging or readdressing those longer term clients that almost feel this sort of sense of entitlement, which, they've built a relationship with you and you've potentially worked with them for a long time, which is fantastic. But how do we make sure that they're not slipping from those A-grade clients through to those D-grade clients because we haven't put in place that sort of formal process around? Are they paying us on time? Are they actually properly engaged for all the work that we're doing for them? Are the expectations set clearly? So really looking forward to hearing your insights on that point in particular.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. All right, let's get into it further. And I noticed Elizabeth has said she often over services and it makes it too hard on herself. So she recognises, there's a lot of bookkeepers recognise where we're at. And then what do we do about it? So let's get into the second part of it. So what happens when you do get this right? So obviously we have clear expectations up front, so that makes it a lot easier to be able to navigate. And if we can articulate what we want, it's easier to navigate the waters, from that date.
And we have clients appreciating us, which is really important. So we want to have that love thing. We want them to love us, and we want to really build a good, strong relationship. So that's part of what we're going to talk about today.
And the third one is rather than feeling like an employee, we actually want to feel like a trusted advisor. So someone that is respected and heard as an advisor, not as just somebody that they're paying. So we'll explore that as well. So out of those three things, if you want to pop into the chat, which one would help you the most right now? And they are, I've got a few duplications of that one. Don't know how that happened. Have clear expectations up front, and clients appreciating us, or feeling like a trusted advisor. So 1, 2, or 3, what's going to make the biggest impact to you right now? Yeah, Nicole's got 3. Yep, 3 from Melinda. Yeah, okay. So feeling like a trusted advisor. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
The main one coming through.
Yeah. That's interesting, because that's a little bit different to what the poll had in terms of, most people were feeling they were over servicing, but they're also feeling like they're not a trusted advisor. So that's an interesting insight. So thanks for that. All right, so let's get into the 5 hot principles.
So yeah, so what we want to do is make sure that we never have that sick feeling again. So get your pens and paper, write down these things, and there's going to be a lot of content here. So make sure you take as much notes as possible, because we just want to set this up so you don't have all those yucky feelings of over-servicing and scope creep again.
So the first principle is around sharing your vision. So it might feel a bit uncomfortable about sharing information with your clients. And also exploring your own vision, what it is that you are building for yourself. What is the purpose of your business? And I know in Pure Bookkeeping, we talk about this a lot. Make sure you know what your vision is and what your purpose of the business. So it gives you an opportunity to build trust. So they will stop treating you like a service provider you know, the service provider being, you know, you're performing a task, you're doing the BAS, you invoice them and you pay them, but they actually know nothing about you and they know nothing about your aspirations. So this is where we're falling a little bit short. So, you know, I recommend letting them in, letting them know, you know, what you're all about, what your business is about, you know, the vision, the purpose, what is it that you want to provide for your clients? I think this is really important right from the start in building relationships and building, you know, stronger relationships for them to visualize what you're trying to achieve. One of the ways to do that is having a presentation ready. And I know, you know, Pure Bookkeeping's got a PowerPoint presentation that steps you through the ability to show, you know, what your vision is, what your mission is. Give some details about your business. So you're sharing your team, like who is on your team, you know, what are they doing? Sharing your systems that are going to provide this service to them. So they're getting a lot more comfortable with you, and you're avoiding all of those things that we spoke about, you know, over-servicing, feeling like an employee, those and taking advantage of. You're sharing the information with them so that it sort of stops those you know, those possibilities for them to take advantage of you then when you are sharing that you're, you know, your professional business, you want to be a trusted advisor, you've got a team, you've got systems that are supporting your vision, what it is, the purpose of your business. So I know, Sharon, you've got an example of this.
Yeah, look, I used to, when I was building, so I joined my sister-in-law in business in 2013, and we scaled the business from 1 bookkeeper to 12. And for those of you that don't know, I am not a bookkeeper or an accountant. I used to share our vision with everyone. I was so excited about where we were going with the business. So I started with our bookkeepers. So anytime I went through the onboarding process with our bookkeepers, I would spend probably way too long talking about our vision and where we wanted to go. But I wanted to enroll them into our vision, so they felt excited about what their journey would be within our business. So they talk about our vision as excitedly as we were with our clients and anyone. So I kind of wanted them to be engaged in the excitement of the growing business, and that they were a key part of that. So not just like a cog in a wheel, that they felt like they were part of something growing that had a heartbeat. And I think one of the most profound experiences for me over my career of sharing my vision was, I'm really passionate on building strategic alliances, and I have done throughout my whole business career and life in corporate. And I knew that I had to build a strategic alliance to really grow the bookkeeping business. So I was kind of working on a few relationships that I'd sort of half worked on, but I really started getting really conscious about making that more strategic. So we took out this whole team of a management team of this franchise company. And I, again, shared with them what our vision was and where we wanted to go. And at that time, we were reasonably, like, we'd been growing slowly through referrals from accountants, and shared with the accountants our vision as well. But this particular night, we'd had a few wines, granted, and I was really excited. And it was the CFO that I was sitting next to, who I'd known for quite a few years. And we were sort of talking, and I shared our vision. I said, look, this is what we want to do. I'll never forget, we were walking out of that restaurant down in Melbourne, it was, and we came out, it was a big full moon. It's imprinted in my brain. And she said to me, we just love you and Tanya so much. We just want you to succeed. And from there, the floodgates opened. We got referrals through that, between 1 and 3 referrals of between 20 and 30 billable hours a month. A-class clients, beautiful, same chart of accounts, same suppliers, same everything. So we had 3 bookkeepers working on those files that were just gold. And I truly believe the relationship that I built and me sharing our vision of where we wanted to go was an integral part of that, opening the floodgates for those referrals to come through.
I love that story. It's a great example of sharing your vision and getting them involved, and you know, they're engaged with your business. We want to get our clients to actually want to work with us. So if we are too busy in the July period and we can't put new clients on, those clients are so excited about joining us, they will wait till August or September to join you. So that's the conversations that we want to have with our clients when we're onboarding them. And the next slide is around having those awkward conversations up front, which is what, you know, Ethan was alluding to previously, in making sure that we get the, you know, the information and have those conversations. So we're going to have conversations about what value add we can provide, making sure that we're covering off all of the information that they want, because it's possible that we're onboarding a client as a BAS compliance client, but they expect more than that. So we want to have those conversations up front. What is it they want? What value do they want? What reports do they value? What do they, you know, what do they want? How do they see our role? What are their expectations? So have those conversations right up front. And it might not be that they want the full package and all your advisory or all the service you can provide right now, but I have identified what they want. So let's start as a BAS compliance, but build up to those things that they want, so that you're not over servicing from day one and you're not getting taken advantage of. So there's nothing worse than getting several months down an engagement and having to backtrack, like Ethan mentioned. It's just even the simple things. If you're just right at the point where my clients aren't paying me, have the conversation up front. We are 7 days. It's every invoice, every month has to be paid the same way. And if you're, you know, involved in the software of Practice Ignition, it just takes away those awkward conversations. This is the way that it is. We don't need to have conversations later. It's all been set up straight away. What happens when you're out of scope? Have those conversations. What happens when their business grows and you don't know, you haven't put into place, okay, I need to revisit this because you've doubled your size, you put more staff on, something's going on in your business, which is exciting. I want to be part of the journey, but I can't be the same, have the same role or the same workload as when we first started. So letting them know up front that this is going to happen, that these things we need to be really clear on. So I know, Sharon, you've got a lot of thoughts on this as well.
Yeah, I kind of made it a rule in my life quite a few years ago to embrace awkward conversations. And I know that whenever I think, should I say that? Like, is that a thing? If you're avoiding it, you need to have the conversation. So I always say, like, put your finger in and squiggle it around to make sure that you're getting in there and having those. And you know what? As soon as it's said and you do it a few times, it's a lot easier the next times that you do it. So it's generally awkward, and it's good. I reckon this is a really cool rule for everything in life, like with your friends and your partner and your kids. If you get really comfortable chatting about awkward things, and if you're willing to have those conversations, people know you'll have those conversations. So then they're less likely to kind of poke you a little bit or try to test you out. They'll know that you'll go there. So I kind of made a relationship with awkward conversations years ago, and probably when I started working with Tanya, when I was working with clients and accountants and stuff. So it's generally around money. Money is people avoid the conversation about money like the plague a lot of the time. So I go right there, and I love to negotiate. I think I've made negotiating fun for me, because I'm the same as everyone else. I find it awkward too, but since I've had this little theory in my life, it's like a game. It's like a fun game now to negotiate and to be proud about what you offer. So if you say you're $85 an hour and you do rescue work and you're $120 an hour, be proud of that. Say that up front. So as soon as you hold yourself in a way and express yourself in a way where you're not scared about that conversation, they'll just own it. They don't quit. I was very rarely called on our price. And back in 2013, we were $75 plus GST an hour. And I'd just say it how it is. And if it didn't work for them, I'd say, I just don't think we're going to be good for each other. That's our price. We don't wiggle on that price. So money's always an awkward one. What's the other one? Any sort of scope creep kind of works. So get really comfortable with saying right up the front, this is, we'll do this now, but we'll review this in 3 months' time to see how we're tracking. So if you're never sure, say up front, we'll review it in 3 months to give yourself that out. If it all goes to hell over those 3 months, you know that you've got an out in 3 months' time. And the other thing too is when you'll physically be working on the file. So just be upfront about, we won't be working on your file every day. We won't be popping into your file every day. We'll pick a day. And if you need to know that day, we'll let you know as we sort of settle into the file and get a bit of a rhythm with that. So anything that you find that's caught you out, that's a tricky conversation that needs to be had up front. So take notes about whatever's caught you out previously. I call it gathering evidence. Gather the evidence that's brought you undone previously. Make notes and talk about it to everyone you can talk about when you're signing them up or going through your onboarding process.
Just two things I had exactly what you just mentioned, Sharon, in my notes to kind of add to this point was the confidence around pricing is really a key here. And when you've got a framework for coming to the price that you've arrived at, actually not being scared to share that and be transparent about that with clients as well. We've found the feedback from the hundreds of firms that are using PI is that when you frame it in a way that is, we work with similar businesses, with businesses that are a similar size to you. We know that to deliver this standard of service or quality of work to you, we're going to need a commitment of resources on our end with regard to the people costs, the software costs, the overheads of running the business. But to deliver that level of service, we need to be charging this. And that's the same price that we're charging you and the client down the road and the client down the road that fall into the same bucket. So I think having that framework and transparency around price is a real key, and something that we've actually just been recommending over the last year is that 3-month scope review, but not framing it in a way as that it's oh, we're going to check that you're paying us enough money. More that it's we're just going to schedule in this 3-month check-in once a quarter to make sure that we're living up to your expectations as your bookkeepers, to make sure that we're addressing all of your concerns so that we're across all the changes upcoming and in your business, that we can be on the front foot with providing additional value where we see fit. So really positioning it as a value add to the client, but gives you that next opportunity to say, hey, by the way, we've been doing all this extra work and that was actually out of the scope of the original agreement. So I'm going to be sending you an updated proposal or however you choose to do it. So yeah, absolutely agree. And those are two things we've seen have huge impact with the firms that are using PI, at least.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, great insight. Thanks, Ethan. The next principle we want to talk about is the actual promise itself. So this is really part of the engagement letter, and this is one of our giveaways that we are going to give you is our part of our Pure Bookkeeping engagement letter. So it has a really strong impact when you read it out loud. So this is a document, or the section of the engagement letter. I think Sharon used to use it as a separate document that she got signed off as well. But it's just really clear on the expectations and the deliverable, the goals, and managing that accountability. So it's your promise to them of how you are going to operate and behave and produce, and it's their promise to you. So again, setting expectations up straight away and, reading them out loud. They're going to sign off on them. And I love the way that Sharon actually brought this into play when she was working through with her clients or prospect clients. So do you want to talk through that example, Sharon?
Yeah. I love Stephen Covey, and his second habit in his 7 habits of highly effective people is start with the end in mind. And I reckon that's a really good one to keep in the front of our mind, is that if we start with the end in mind, if we think about our clients 12 months down the track, what do we need to do now to make sure that the end in 12 months or whenever, like further down the track, is going to be as we want it? And that's what I loved about this check sheet that you're talking about. When I saw it in the Pure Bookkeeping system, it's a 1-pager, and I would literally go through this. It's a 1-pager form that's got, this is our promise to you and this is your promise to us. And we tell them what they promise us. I love that. Now, this is what you're going to promise to us. So I'd literally go through every point with them and read and look down and then look up and then look down and read out each one. And I actually believe, and so I'd get to the end and I'd say, is there anything on there that doesn't fit for you? Is there anything that you'd like to talk about with that? And I think there's a lot of power in pausing. So to have that, like, especially women, we love to fill silences and make it so we're talking all the time. And it's really hard to do. But what I would do is read through each of those and make myself stop after I said, is there anything on there that doesn't work for you? And I didn't have ever anyone say no. And so I'd turn the piece of paper around and there's a place where they sign down the bottom and say, okay, so I'll sign here, and I'd sign first, turn the piece of paper around, and then they'd sign. So that's pretty much what that does. I think going through point by point by point is actually getting them, it's not just something hidden where they just sign off and send back and we forget about it. My importance I put on that was obvious to them. And I'd start the conversation off by, this is how we play the game. And then at the end, I'd always add as well, which is what something Deb had put into that sheet, which took me a little bit to ask, I've got to tell you, was if you're basically saying asking for referrals. So if you love the work that we do, would you tell your buddies about it and refer us through? So that's just a line right at the bottom. So that was a really powerful sheet for me, and it actually helped set up that relationship ongoingly really well, I thought.
Yeah, I think it's really important. As you say, it sets that up right from the get-go of how we're going to play, how it's going to work. So, and all engagement letters, have all of the, a lot of the information around, the expectations. You've got to provide the paperwork and you've got to do this and that. But yeah, just making sure that they understand every one of those points is really critical.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, this slide here is around the bookkeepers have gold in their heads, and I love this. This is all about the information that you do have and the potential that is in your head to be able to provide to your clients, because we all know that we can do compliance, and we all know ourselves we can go further than that. We could do advisory, we could show them their P&L and balance sheet, we can talk to them about their results, but they don't know the service that we could provide, the extra comfort, the extra information that they could rely on to make some really important decisions. So often we don't have the time, like once we've been engaged with them, we don't have the time to go back and provide that extra customer service. So thinking about it right from the get-go, right from the engagement letter, letting them know what your services are that you can provide, having conversations that provide more value. And again, as I said before, you don't necessarily are going to sign them up for this extra value add straight away. You may do. I mean, a lot of our licensees are reporting now that they're offering it, people are jumping at it. They didn't realize we did it. So having those conversations right at the start of, onboarding them, you've got your proposals. It's a very easy process for them to understand what is provided and what can be, serviced for them, and for them to be able to, sign the proposal and accept that and move on through. So I know, Sharon, you've got, some thoughts around this process as well, or what, what you're finding with bookkeepers too.
Yeah, when because the only person I ever knew that was a bookkeeper was my sister-in-law, and I'd known her for 30 years because she was married to my brother. And as I was working with Tanya and starting to, because I was doing the business development, so I was out building and working with accountants and signing up the clients, and I was also doing the HR, and I found this kind of weird kind of thing going on, that I'd go out to business owners, and some were very large business owners, and I'd be talking to them and asking them about sort of what needs that they had, and asking them a whole bunch of questions about their business and where they wanted to grow and what they were doing, and then my outcome of those conversations was to always make them feel really comfortable about not knowing about bookkeeping. So my outcome was to really get them to say, hey, look, I've really got no idea. I just need somebody to take care of this. So my conversation was trying to lead them to that sort of outcome, to say, so because obviously I wanted to get as much work for my bookkeepers as possible. So that was the conversation. I'd ask enough questions to get them to the point where They either said that they weren't sort of strategically using the reports to make strategic decisions for their business because they didn't really know how to read a P&L or a balance sheet or just some basic sort of stuff. So I'd always make them feel really comfortable about that. And so they'd feel comfortable to buy more services from my bookkeepers. But then I noticed with the bookkeepers, this strange thing that was going on was that they had all this fantastic gold in their heads, because I'd sit around the meetings and listen to them talk. Because my brain is not a bookkeeper brain. I'm not wired like that. And the way that the knowledge that they had in their heads, that they actually weren't sharing with those same business clients. So they were going in just doing the bookkeeping work. And I knew all this other stuff was going on because I'd had this conversation, but they weren't filling that. They weren't giving that information across. So it's, I guess, just getting really comfortable. And all I ended up doing was building a bridge. So getting the bookkeepers to have more of these good conversations with the business owners to open up more scope that they could actually service them more around more of the advisory sort of work. So yeah, so allow that gold to flow, I reckon.
Yeah, exactly, and do it right from the start. Yeah, absolutely. And if you've got existing clients, go back and revisit your engagement letter with them. Let's sit down and have a conversation. You know what they need. You've had you've had some experience with them. You've spoken to your bookkeepers. You've got that gold out of their heads of what further you can do. So re-engage. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Now the next one is around creating raving fans in the first 30 days, let's say. So I know we're doing a lot of work with the Never Lose a Client Again, Joey Coleman's book, around how never to lose a client or how to service clients over the next 100 days so that they actually become raving fans of yours. So this is part of, what do we do now? Now that we've engaged them, now that they've said yes, we've already set the stage for the onboarding, and, that we're going to do, perhaps a diagnostic review of their file. We're going to have onboarding meetings. We've let them know what's happening, but let's go a little bit further past that over the next 30 days and fill them in a little bit more about, perhaps about your business, or about what your expectations are, reminding them why they engaged with you from the start. What were their pain points that they did that? What are they experiencing? What are you solving? What's the biggest value that they are going to take away from the service that you provide? Making sure that you remind them of those things, remind them of your expectations, your communication style. Get a bit personal in some of these emails as well. So one of the giveaways today is actually a mind map of the first 6 emails and all of the examples and the structure that you can set up for those emails. I've got a little video there also that explains how to utilize those 6 emails and what to include, some other examples of value add that you can provide them over the next 6 emails. And you could do those 6 emails in the next 30 days. Even beyond that, I know we've spoken to a group of our licensees about stretching that out for the 100 days. So in a month's time, what are you going to provide them? What connection are you going to keep, have with them to make sure that they continue to be raving fans and talk your praises? Like, this is, one of these healthy relationships that we want to create so that they're actually telling their buddies of how their bookkeeper is working. So let's set that up from the start as well. So we'll tell you in a moment how you'll be able to get hold of that mind map and that little video. I know, Sharon, I love your experience of your bookkeeper and how you've been blown away by the experience that you've been having. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
I feel a bit strange saying this. I was really nervous getting a bookkeeper. I don't know why, because I think it's just like I'm now a single coach. And I'm surprisingly quite diligent with my bookkeeping on my spreadsheet, but I knew that I had to get a bookkeeper right. So about a month ago, I called up an old accountant that used to refer us work when I was with Tanya. And I said, I'm really nervous, Shane. I'm really nervous to get a bookkeeper, but I want you. And he said, it's going to be okay, Shaz. Don't worry, it'll be fine. I said, I'm not an A-class client. By any stretch of the imagination, I'm not an A-class client. He said, it's okay. And the way he made me feel was, I felt like my hand was being held the whole time. And he's been so encouraging. But some of the little things that he did that I've never seen before, and I thought that it was pretty cool. He said, I don't want you to get over, I don't know if he maybe just did this for me, I'm not sure, Katrina. But he said, I don't want you, I'm sure he doesn't, I'm sure he does it for all of his clients. But he said, I don't want you to get overwhelmed. So I'm going to drip feed my requests through to you. So I got an email a day for the request. And he said to me, if it's too much, tell me and we'll slow down. So he kind of paced his communication with me and me getting the stuff back to him so I wouldn't feel overwhelmed. And me being me, I was like right on it. He's like, and he's like patting me on the back all the time saying, good on you, Sharon, you're doing a good job. And it just made me feel like, I don't know, kind of safe. I felt a lot of trust for him. And then he came around and we did zero training, which he knew that I'd freak out about. And he made me feel not stupid about it. And then also just, he went above and beyond. He's like, we sat down in here and I had a coffee for him and he said, hey, Sharon, have you got this book? I said, oh my God, is that a gift for me? And so he gives me this gift and I wasn't even expecting it. So there was all these, I call them critical non-essentials. They're critical, but you don't have to do it. No one tells you you have to buy the e-myth for your client. That's probably not a very A-class client. I think I'm 1 hour a month for him. But I guess just all those little things have been handheld and nurtured through with his understanding of me with being overwhelmed with this whole stuff, made me feel very safe. And I think my trust level was there for him when I first started, which was pretty high. It's gone even higher now, just with the whole interaction and how he's dealt with me throughout that whole month of getting everything set up.
And the beauty of that is that you're telling other people.
Yeah, true.
So you are now his raving fan.
Yeah,
so if you were to tell the right person and they would say, you know, I need a bookkeeper, and they become the A grade, they are the wham bam client, then, you know, that this is the whole thing. This is, you know, we're past thinking just, you know, grab their books, let's do their compliance, let's move them on, invoice them, get paid. What's the customer experience like? And that's what I talk about in the video, is the customer experience. Like, consider that. It is overwhelming when they first join a bookkeeping business, because there are new softwares to deal with. They've got to trust you. They've got to, you know, engage with new staff. Who are all these people asking me questions? And you've got to build that trust. So it's really important to think about their customer experience. It's one thing that, you know, we don't seem to think about. It's just move on, do the work, because that's what we're good at. We love doing that. But if we were to set into place a couple of emails that just makes them feel comfortable, and as you said, hold your hand along the journey, just makes it a lot easier. And then they respect you for that. And they're going to be a raving fan, and they're going to be stickier. So yeah, I love that example. And it's just opportune that it's come along, you know, a month ago, and you were telling me about it. And wow, they're the bookkeepers that have that point of difference as well. You know, you can share those stories. So yeah, fantastic. Now, what we'd love to hear from you, if you pop down in the chat, what's your key takeaway from today? What are the one thing? So it's probably not the time for the poll, but that's okay. What's the one thing that you have learnt from today? If you pop it into the chat.
I've just launched the poll at the same time, Katrina, and we can leave that up going. But
okay,
I'll pop in the chat my learnings if I can share and jump in. I've loved the framework that you were giving us there, just to how to set expectations up front, Sharon. And I think your critical non-essentials is absolutely a part of that. You know, being software that kind of deals with that whole front end, you know, client engagement piece. There's a lot to be said about, you know, just going the extra mile to make sure that the you know, that, for example, you might want to include a video nowadays if you can't drop around to someone's house or take them out for coffee. If it's a Loom video, you know, it's free software that you can embed in one of your emails when you're onboarding the client, or you can put it into your proposal, or you can, you know, just take that extra 3 minutes and say, hey, John, great meeting with you earlier. Just wanted to say huge welcome, here's the proposal, just to elevate that level of trust. And again, we've seen this have really tangible impacts for our customers who are using it with their clients. So all that small stuff that doesn't seem like it's important, but it really is, that's been a huge highlight to me from this session. Heaps of great comments coming in as well in the chat.
Yeah, from being confident with your services, the promise, love the drip feed, communication is key. Yeah, these are all great stuff. Brilliant explanation of the process to carry the client from engagement and explain the promise up front. Trust in myself and my abilities. Yeah, that's key as well.
Yeah,
that is fantastic. Sure. Now I'm just going to jump into, so the next steps. So what our giveaways today are, the first one is our onboarding checklist. So it's actually the Pure Bookkeeping onboarding checklist, and I actually met with a group of licensees several months ago and just went through our existing checklist and just built out more, because there's so much more that we need to do when we are onboarding a checklist, a client, just to make sure that you don't miss the important stuff. So we're giving you the Pure Bookkeeping onboarding checklist. Now, if you are a Pure Bookkeeping licensee, of course, you can get that in the PB Central under the sales and marketing area. So jump across to there and get hold of that. Secondly, the promise document that Sharon spoke about that resulted in immediate success on onboarding clients. So again, this is part of the Pure Bookkeeping engagement letter. So if you are a PB licensee, jump over and grab hold of the engagement letter and the promise that we talk about inside of that document. And then
just to plug on that as well, we have had a lot of our customers use that engagement letter and promise document within their proposals and have awesome feedback from it. So good opportunity to get this if you're not a licensee yet. We've had overwhelmingly good feedback about that. So jump in and respond on that poll if you can, so we can send that through, or so that Katrina can send that through to you.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thanks for that feedback, Ethan. We love the partnership that we've got with Practice Ignition. We've got a big percentage of our licensees that are using Practice Ignition because of the strong relationship we've got and the support that we get from Practice Ignition inside of our community as well, which is just awesome. The third giveaway is the 30-day mind map for a new client journey. So it maps out the structure of your emails, what to include in them for the next 30 days, the next 6 emails, and a little video that shows how to implement that straight away. So again, I've popped that into the Pure Bookkeeping Inner Circle, the private Facebook group for Pure Bookkeeping licensees, so they can get hold of that. It will also be in PB Central. But if you're not a licensee, then jump on, let's put a link up. Oh, thanks, Sharon. There's a link there in the chat for, and if you want to copy it, if you're not sure when to make a time. So what we've got, so get your hands on these giveaways. I'd love for you to book a time, just a 10-minute call, so we can also see where you're at right now and see how these documents can help you fast track your success. So love for you to jump onto that link and you'll get access to those free giveaways as well that way. Yeah, and I think the next thing is around, this is a bit of coaching from Sharon. 72-hour rule.
My coach taught me this one. The 72-hour rule is if you don't do something in the next 3 days, so you've just invested 1 hour of your life that you're never going to get back. And what you want to do is take something from this hour and take action on it. So whatever it is that really hit home for you, to take action on it. If you don't within the next 72 hours, the likelihood of you doing anything with all of this information will go to zero, like gone. That's it. You won't, it'll all just go and you'll get busy and you'll start work again and you'll forget all about it. And it's pretty true because I've put it to the test before. And yeah, if you actually just have to do something from the information you've learned today. So I know a lot of people attend webinars, a lot of my clients attend webinars, and I always ask, like, you know, what did you get out of that? What's the takeaway from that you can actually implement to make a difference in your business?
Yeah.
Awesome. Really appreciate both of you sharing all of those insights today. And I think the engagement and feedback on the chat has been absolutely on point. There's been I've got half a page of notes myself actually on a lot of what you've been talking about as well, which I'm going to hopefully share with our customer newsletter. So thank you again for putting together this content. And I think it's been incredibly valuable to just highlight the importance of what are some of the key actions and steps we can take early on in the client journey to make sure that they're set up for success, make sure that they've got the highest likelihood of turning into A-grade clients or keeping those A-grade clients so they can refer more of them. So huge thanks to both of you for giving us all this time today.
Yeah, you're very welcome, and thanks for inviting us and giving us the opportunity to have a conversation with both your clients and bookkeepers around Australia. Melinda, you've asked for the link, so there's just the link for the booking. Once you jump into that booking, you'll be able to get access to those checklists and all those free giveaways as well. Awesome.
Thanks very much, Katrina. Thanks, Sharon, and thanks for everyone who's tuned in today. Thank you for rekindling my drive. Wow, that's a great little testimonial there. So thanks, Megan. And thanks for everyone who's taken the time to join us. We will be sending out the recording as well. So if you would like to re-watch and capture some more of those little gold nuggets that we got through this session, then feel free to do that as well. Excellent. All right. Anything else? Closing remarks, Katrina or Sharon, or we can leave it there?
Oh, just think about what your next engagement's going to be. What's the next process for your new client? What's it going to look like? What's the customer experience?
Yeah, I'd just say, just get unstoppable confidence. Just believe in yourself enough when you're sitting in front of a client. Just sit there, know that you've been doing this for a lot of years. Most of the bookkeepers I work with have been doing what you have in your heads is gold, and business owners don't know this stuff, so don't be afraid to share it. Like it is gold that you have in your heads. Just that confidence to be able to talk about what you know is life-changing for business owners.
Awesome. All right, we'll wrap it up there then. And thanks to all of you who again have joined us, and we'll be in touch shortly. All right, thanks everyone.
Thanks. See ya. Bye.